Your morning cup of tea might not be what you think it is. That comforting brew you're sipping right now. It could contain pesticide residues, microplastics, and chemicals that major health organizations are still debating. Not because tea itself is dangerous, but because of how these specific brands source, process, and package what ends up in your cup. I spent 3 weeks digging through lawsuits, laboratory studies, and regulatory documents about American tea brands. What I found ranged from concerning to genuinely shocking. Some of the most trusted names in tea have test results they'd rather you never see. I'm going to walk you through exactly what independent labs found in 7 major tea brands, the same brands sitting in millions of American pantries right now. We'll look at the actual test results, what they mean, what we still don't know, and most importantly, what your options are if you decide this information matters to you. By the end, you'll know which brands have concerning test results, which 2 brands consistently test clean, and you can make your own decision about what belongs in your cup. Let's start with one of the most shocking discoveries. Brand number 1, Celestial Seasonings. That cheerful box with the sleepy bear. The one that says 100% natural right on the front. Celestial Seasonings looks like everything wholesome tea should be. In 2013, that image collided with laboratory data. The Glaucus Research Group, an independent analytics firm, sent Celestial Seasonings teas to the National Food Lab for testing. The results became the foundation of a class action lawsuit that would reveal what 100% natural actually meant. Here's what the lab found. 91% of Celestial Seasonings teas tested contained pesticide residues above U.S. federal limits. Not trace amounts, above federal limits. The Sleepy Time Kids Good Night Grape, marketed specifically for children, contains 0.26 parts per million of propofol. Now, what is propofol? It's a herbicide that California lists under Proposition 65 as a chemical known to cause cancer. The EPA classifies it as a probable human carcinogen. To put this in context, 0.26 parts per million is indeed below the EPA's reference dose for chronic exposure. Scientists debate whether this level in brewed tea poses actual health risks. What's not debatable is that parents buying 100% natural tea for their kids weren't expecting any level of synthetic herbicides. The lawsuit also found the wellness tea line contained traces of propergite, another pesticide with carcinogenic properties. Again, the levels were below acute toxicity thresholds, but present in a product marketed as wellness. Here's what makes this particularly interesting. Celestial Seasonings' response. They didn't deny the test results. Instead, they sent the same teas to a different lab, the same National Food Lab actually, but had them test the brewed tea instead of the tea leaves. Their tests of the liquid tea, diluted in water, showed no detectable pesticides. Think about what that means. The pesticides don't disappear when you brew the tea. They just dilute to levels below detection. It's the difference between none and not enough to measure in this form. The FDA had already issued warning letters to Celestial Seasonings in 2012 and 2013 for quality control issues before this lawsuit emerged. The agency found inadequate testing procedures and poor supplier verification. Today, Celestial Seasonings still operates. They've made statements about improved sourcing. But here's what consumers should know. When a brand's defense isn't "our tea is clean," but rather "the poison dilutes enough when brewed," you're having the wrong conversation. If you have Celestial Seasonings in your pantry, especially if you've been giving it to kids, you might want to reconsider. Not because 0.26 ppm will cause immediate harm, but because 100% natural should mean something. Brand number 2, Lipton, the Yellow Box, the world's best-selling tea, more trusted than any other brand on earth. In 2012, Greenpeace did something simple. They bought Lipton tea from grocery stores and sent it to an accredited laboratory. Every single sample, let me repeat that, every single sample came back with pesticide residues. The range was striking, between 3 and 17 different pesticides per tea bag. Some of these were pesticides banned in the US, some banned in Europe, some even banned in China, where Lipton sources much of its tea. The specific chemicals included DDT metabolites. Yes, DDT, banned since 1972 but persistent in soil, and endosulfan, banned in over 80 countries for its toxicity. Now, Lipton is owned by Unilever, a corporation valued at over $100 billion. This isn't a small company struggling with quality control. This is one of the world's largest consumer goods companies selling tea with pesticide cocktails. But there's another issue that's possibly more concerning: the tea bags themselves. McGill University researchers discovered something disturbing in 2019. Those premium pyramid-shaped tea bags that Lipton and other brands market as allowing better water flow? They're made of plastic, specifically PET plastic or nylon. When researchers steeped a single plastic tea bag in water at 95 degrees, normal brewing temperature, they found it released 11.6 billion microplastic particles and 3.1 billion nanoplastic particles into a single cup. To understand that number, that's thousands of times higher than microplastic levels reported in other foods. 1 cup of tea with a plastic pyramid bag contains more microplastic particles than most people consume from all other sources combined in a day. What do these particles do in your body? The honest answer: we don't fully know. Microplastics have been found in human blood, lung tissue, placental tissue, and even brain tissue. Studies in animals suggest potential inflammation, oxidative stress, and cellular damage. But human health impacts are still being studied. What we do know is that every cup adds to your lifetime accumulation. And unlike pesticides that your body can eventually process and eliminate, plastics don't metabolize. They stay. The quality issue goes deeper. Lipton primarily uses what's called CTCT, crush, tear, curl. It's the cheapest processing method that turns tea leaves into tiny pellets. These brew quickly and strong, which seems good, except you're getting the tea equivalent of instant coffee. The complex flavors, the antioxidants that make tea healthy, much of that is lost in CTC processing. Then they add natural flavors to compensate. That lemon tea? The lemon flavor is likely created in a lab, not from actual lemons. Natural flavors can be derived from natural sources, but processed with solvents and carriers you'd never associate with natural. Lipton's response to the Greenpeace report? They committed to sustainable sourcing by 2020. It's now 2024. Independent testing still finds pesticide residues, though Lipton says they meet all regulatory requirements. Meeting regulatory requirements and being clean are not the same thing. Brand number 3, Teavana, Starbucks. Teavana was supposed to be different. Premium loose-leaf teas in beautiful tins. Stores that looked like apothecaries. Prices that suggested quality, $15 to $30 per ounce. Starbucks bought Teavana for $620 million in 2012. Then, in 2013, an independent lab tested their products. 100% of Teavana teas tested contained pesticides. Every single one. But the details are what should concern you. One tea, Monkey Picked Oolong, which sold for $25 per 2 ounces, contained 23 different pesticides in a single sample. 23. Here's why that matters. Regulatory agencies test pesticides individually. They set safe limits for each chemical alone. But no one tests what happens when 23 pesticides interact in your body. There's no safety data for these combinations. You're drinking a chemical cocktail that's never been evaluated as a cocktail. 77% of Tivana teas tested would fail European Union import standards. Too contaminated to sell in Europe, but perfectly legal in American Starbucks stores. The most disturbing finding, 62% of Tivana teas contained endosulfan. Endosulfan isn't just another pesticide. It's one of the most toxic insecticides ever created. It's banned in the United States, banned in the European Union, banned in 80-plus countries worldwide. The Stockholm Convention lists it as a persistent organic pollutant, chemicals so dangerous they require global treaties to eliminate. Why is it banned? Endosulfan is an endocrine disruptor. It interferes with hormones. Studies link it to reproductive problems, developmental damage in children, and autism spectrum disorders. Farm workers exposed to endosulfan have significantly higher rates of genetic mutations in their blood cells, and it was in 62% of Tivana products that people were buying at premium prices, trusting the Starbucks brand. In 2017, Starbucks announced they were closing all 379 Tivana stores. The official reason was underperformance. But the timing, after the lawsuit, after the test results became public, suggests otherwise. Here's the catch. Starbucks still sells Tivana today. That iced passion tango tea you order in summer? Tivana. The hot tea at the register? Often Tivana. They closed the stores but kept selling the tea. When confronted with the test results, Starbucks didn't deny them. They said their teas meet all regulatory requirements. Again, legal and clean are different things. For anyone who paid premium prices thinking expensive means better, Tivana proves that's not always true. Sometimes you're just paying more for the same contamination in fancier packaging. Brand Jurors 4, Bigelow. Bigelow is the family company, third generation, American-owned since 1945. They print family tea blenders on every box. This is the brand your grandmother trusted. In 2017, that trust cracked. Independent testing by the Organic Consumers Association found glyphosate in Bigelow teas. Glyphosate is the active ingredient in Roundup, the weed killer at the center of thousands of lawsuits claiming it causes cancer. The levels found ranged from 0.38 to 0.86 parts per billion in brewed tea. Now, let's be clear. These levels are below EPA tolerances. They're not acutely toxic. But here's the question. Why is Roundup in tea at all? Glyphosate is interesting because it's one of the most studied and most controversial chemicals in agriculture. The International Agency for Research on Cancer classifies it as probably carcinogenic to humans. The EPA says it's not likely to cause cancer at typical exposure levels. European agencies are split. What everyone agrees on, it shouldn't be in your all-natural tea. When the Organic Consumers Association sued, Bigelow's CEO Cindy Bigelow called the lawsuit frivolous and claimed that once brewed, pesticide levels become absolutely zero. That's scientifically impossible. Chemicals don't vanish, they dilute. Below detection limits is not the same as zero. It's the difference between not there and too diluted to measure with this equipment. The larger issue with Bigelow is transparency, or lack thereof. They prominently display manufactured in USA with American flag imagery. True, they blend and package in Connecticut. But where does the tea come from? China, India, Sri Lanka, the same industrial plantations as everyone else. When you see family-made and American flags, you might assume American-grown tea. That assumption would be wrong. There are only 2 commercial tea plantations in the entire United States. Bigelow doesn't own either. They're selling you a story of American family values while sourcing from the same suppliers as the brands they position themselves against. Brand number 5. Yogi Tea. Yogi Tea wraps itself in wellness. Inspirational quotes on every tag. Organic certifications. Packaging that looks like it. came from a yoga retreat. In May 2024, just months ago, the FDA announced a recall of Yogi tea products. 877,536 tea bags recalled nationwide for containing pesticides. The specific product was Echinacea Immune Support, the tea people drink when they're sick. The one supposed to boost your immune system, contaminated with pesticides that could compromise it. Here's what makes this particularly troubling. Yogi is certified organic. They have USDA organic labels. They market heavily to health-conscious consumers. And they still ended up selling nearly 900,000 contaminated tea bags. Their explanation? Cross-contamination in the supply chain. Essentially, organic farms near conventional farms can have pesticide drift, or equipment used for both organic and conventional processing wasn't cleaned properly. But think about what that means. If a certified organic brand can't guarantee clean tea, what does organic certification actually protect you from? The FDA classified this as a Class 3 recall. Their definition is not likely to cause adverse health consequences. Not safe, not clean, just probably won't hurt you badly enough to sue. This wasn't Yogi's first issue. They've had multiple recalls over the years. In 2017, they recalled tea for containing undeclared ingredients. Their quality control issues are patterns, not exceptions. For consumers who pay premium prices for organic tea, thinking it's safer, this recall proves that's not always true. The organic label is about farming methods, not necessarily about what ends up in your cup. Brand, Dear 6. Tetley Tetley seems harmless. The British brand that's been around since 1837. Nothing fancy, nothing expensive, just basic tea. In 2014, CBC Marketplace, Canada's consumer investigation program, tested Tetley along with other major brands. They used the same certified lab that the Canadian Food Inspection Agency uses. Tetley tea contained 22 different pesticides in a single tea bag, among them monocrotophos, banned in the US since 1989 for being too toxic. Also detected traces of DDT metabolites, still present decades after being banned. 22 pesticides create what scientists call the cocktail effect. While each individual pesticide might be below regulatory limits, no one studies what happens when all 22 interact in your body. Chemicals can amplify each other's effects. A safe level of chemical A plus a safe level of chemical B might create unsafe interactions we don't understand. Tetley's response was predictable. All our teas comply with regulations. Technically true, legally compliant. But 22 pesticides in one bag raises questions about what compliance actually means. The math is worth considering. If you drink 3 cups of Tetley daily, that's potentially 66 pesticide exposures per day. Over a year, that's over 24,000 individual pesticide exposures. Each one might be safe alone. Together, nobody knows. Brand number 7, Twinings. Twinings holds a royal warrant. They supply tea to the British royal family. The box features elegant typography and costs $6, double what Lipton charges. Testing revealed Twinings products contained over 30 different pesticides. More than Tetley, more than Lipton, more than any brand we've discussed. The pesticides included cypermethrin, a synthetic pyrethroid that's a neurotoxin to insects and can cause neurological symptoms in humans at high doses. Also found chlorpyrifos, linked to developmental problems in children and banned from residential use in the US since 2000. Here's the truth about Twinings. Despite the royal imagery and premium pricing, their everyday line, the one most Americans buy, sources from the same industrial tea plantations as the budget brands. Same suppliers, same agricultural practices. You're paying double for the same tea in a prettier box. The age of the tea is another issue. Tea is best consumed within 6 to 12 months of harvest. By the time Twinings tea reaches your cup, it's often been sitting in warehouses for over a year. The complex flavors degrade, the health benefits diminish. What's left is stale leaves propped up by natural flavoring. Those pyramid bags Twinings promotes as premium, many are plastic just like Lipton's. Same microplastic problem, higher price tag. The safe alternatives. After everything we've covered, you might think all tea is contaminated. It's not. 2 brands consistently test clean and prove it's possible to produce tea without the issues we've discussed. Numi Organic Tea, started by a brother and sister in Oakland who were frustrated with the tea industry. Every Numi tea is third-party tested, not self-tested, but verified by independent laboratories. Their tea bags are made from Manila hemp, a plant fiber that's plastic-free and unbleached. No microplastics, no chlorine processing. What sets them apart? True transparency. They publish their testing results. They list their suppliers. When they say organic, their products actually test clean. In all the independent studies we reviewed, Numi consistently showed either no pesticide residues or levels so low they were barely detectable. The taste difference is noticeable. Real bergamot in Earl Grey, not natural bergamot flavor. Real jasmine flowers in jasmine tea, not jasmine fragrance. The tea brews slower because it's whole leaves, not dust. The color develops gradually. There's complexity in the cup. Price, 6 to 8 per box. Yes, that's more than Lipton. It's also the same as Twinings, but you're actually getting what you're paying for. Traditional medicinals founded in 1974 by herbalists, not marketers. They apply pharmacopoeial standards to their herbs, the same testing standards used for medicines. Every batch is tested for pesticides, heavy metals, and microbiology. They reject more raw materials than any other brand we researched. If an herb doesn't meet their standards, they don't just find another supplier, they often work with farmers to improve practices. Their tea bags are made from abaca fiber, unbleached, chlorine-free, plastic-free. Their throat coat tea actually contains slippery elm and marshmallow root in therapeutic quantities, not just flavoring. When Yogi was recalling nearly 900,000 bags of contaminated echinacea tea, traditional medicinals echinacea tea tested clean. Same herb, completely different quality control. Price, 5, 10, or 7 per box. For medicinal teas that actually work, that's reasonable. What this means for you. 7 major tea brands. Pesticides, microplastics, industrial chemicals. Some of it at levels that regulatory agencies say are safe. Some of it banned in other countries, but legal here. All of it hidden behind marketing that suggests natural, pure, and healthy. The question isn't whether these levels will cause immediate harm. They probably won't. The question is whether you want to consume pesticide cocktails and microplastics at all when clean alternatives exist. Here's what you can do right now. Check your pantry. If you have any of the 7 brands we discussed, you have a decision to make. The testing data is real. The contamination is documented. Whether that matters to you is your choice. If you switch brands, know that Numi and traditional medicinals aren't the only clean options. They're just 2 we can verify through consistent independent testing. Other brands like Rishi, Mountain Rose Herbs, and Buddha Teas also show good testing results. The larger lesson, natural on a label means nothing. Organic certification helps, but doesn't guarantee clean products. Even premium prices don't ensure quality. Real quality comes from companies that test, verify, and prove their products are clean. They exist. You just have to know where to look. Your morning cup of tea should be a source of comfort, not contamination. Now you have the information to make sure it is. What tea brand is in your cabinet right now? drop a comment below. I'm curious how many people are drinking the brands we just exposed without knowing about these test results. If this information was valuable, hit the subscribe button. We investigate what's really in your food, what labels actually mean, and which brands you can trust. More deep dives coming on coffee, honey, olive oil, and other everyday products with hidden issues. Thanks for watching. Stay informed and check those labels.